Hello, hello, hello. You are in for a treat. This is the very first episode of the AJ and Tightest show. Now, this is a show where we bring to you everything that's affecting the area and the outside areas, from sports to music to entertainment, special guests, spotlight on businesses, sponsors that are heavy in the area, which is our opportunity to give back to you guys in a real way and to include you in discussions that a lot of people need to be having. So this is my co-host, Mr. AJ Guyton.
What's up, man? Hello, everybody. Hope everything is going great here on this Sunday afternoon. Glad to be here with a good friend, a great co-host, and we're excited about what we got to bring to you for the next however long.
So, quick background on me for those that aren't familiar with myself. I'm from Peoria. I got signed to So Def Records when I was a young man. Toured the world, made music with everyone from Kobe Braynt to Jadakiss, just everybody that you can think of in between. From there, I started writing movies and TV shows, scripts, and music for other artists, and it just sort of speedballed into a situation where I wear a whole lot of hats. But I'm able to do this in my city, Peoria. At the same time, it allows me to confront my heavy activism in a real way towards a community that I love to support and help. So I put all of my resources, my finances, my friends, I put all of us on the line every single day to make a difference in this city. So I hope that might inspire some of you to do the same things. I'm from this city, left this city, made all of my money, came back, and guess where I spend all my money? Right here in this city. It's the best city to be at, and we've all got to come together and do this the right way and start rebuilding this to make it as glorious as it once was. So if y'all don't know who AJ is, I'm going to let him introduce himself. Otherwise, I'm about to go on about Mr. Chicago Bull over here. So those that don't know you, who are you, Mr. AJ?
Mr. AJ Guyton, and I'm not going to go into my whole resume because
it's pretty long. It's pretty long.
But AJ Guyton, I'm from Peoria, Illinois, born and raised. Been here, haven't been here all my life. I grew up, left Peoria when I was probably about going into college, about 18 years old. I have an opportunity through basketball to travel the world. I've lived in 10 countries. I've visited over 65 countries, and it really opened my eyes to how I could affect change positively in Peoria. And my message is always get an opportunity to get outside the city and experience what this world has to offer. Not just on a visit. Go stay somewhere for more than a week. Go be a part of someone else's culture. It'll change your life, and you'll understand what living is really all about. So that's the kind of message you'll get from me. But we'll get into my resume as we get into the show.
Yeah, and I told you if he didn't come at it, I was going to come for it. I mean, I warned y'all there. But let me just say this about my man to the left here, too. For all that he's done, and for, from being a Chicago Bull, I mean, that's the Bulls. I mean, the Bulls, you know what I'm saying? I mean, this is basically a one in a million type man. He could have went on and did everything. He could be coaching anywhere in this world he wants to coach right now. He's right here developing programs for our city's youth. And it's called The District. And he does it every day through and throughout. He does it on the weekends. I talked to this man at 3 o'clock on a Saturday or 11 o'clock Saturday night in the middle of doing programs for these kids. And I'm telling you, he could be anywhere in the world, but he's here for these kids and these youth. Yes. So for that reason, we make a good match because we both care about this place enough to give back in the right ways and to include you guys in it. Yes. So welcome to the AJ and Tightest show. Okay. And we are back. Today we have something really special for you. Not only is this the first episode of our show, but this is our first special guest that we have for the show as well. This is none other than Mr. Chris McCall. And for those of you that don't know, Chris is running for the state's attorney. That election is going to be coming up soon. We're going to talk a little bit about it and why he should be the man for you. Full endorsement, Tightest certified right here, Mr. Chris McCall.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yes, sir. Before we get in depth, I had the pleasure to have a friendship with Mr. McCall, and so does Brian. Tightest, y'all brought us, my guy. But we want to tell the people a little bit about Chris McCall and his upbringing in Peoria, and what were the motivating factors and things that happened to get you to this point.
Well, I'm born and raised in Peoria, Illinois. First of all, I'm the parent of 2 daughters, married to my wife Tiffany. She's a RN nurse She actually went to Central. We met at Central. I am as well an attorney, and my parents were Dr. Roscoe and Geraldine McCall out of Peoria. I grew up and attended Richwoods, and before that, Mark Bills in Charter Oak, and played basketball at Mark Bills, and didn't have as much success as this man over here. But I did that, and I played football at Richwoods High School, and decided at that point to go to a Big Ten school, and I went to University of Illinois for undergrad and law school, and prior to that I also attended Illinois Central College. And the reason I decided to give back to the community, at least put every effort to do so, is because there were individuals that helped me growing up, and they always gave back. My father actually coached a little league team that he financed himself down on the south end of town, Proctor Center, and we all played baseball over there, and we learned how to be young boys and grew up in the men, and wanted to get back.
That's awesome. You also have a practice, right? Correct.
I do.
Tell everybody about how that came about. What motivated you to get your own practice?
Well, I used to be an assistant state's attorney for Peoria County, and I did that for a couple years, and I wanted to make sure that I changed the system. And being that I was such a young attorney, at that point I was 25 years old, I knew that the best way to change the system was from the inside out. And so I decided to open up McCall offices in April 2005, and I started that with just literally a rent check, a credit card, in a hallway that had no air conditioning on Knoxville, 2708 North Knoxville. Started it that way, and my very first case, it was a custody case. I was moving in the furniture, setting up the computer. This young woman, I'll never forget, she came to the office. She had $400 in the custody case, and she said, "This is all I got." $400, and I said,
That's not enough. That is not enough.
It wasn't enough, but of course I had no experience and I had no income coming in, so kind of like growing up, your parents would tell you, make it happen.
Make it work.
Make it work. And so we made it work.
Make it enough.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like the scene in Friday. Make it happen.
$2, make it enough.
Yeah, so we made it happen, and ever since then, we've been very successful.
Awesome.
So please.
Perfect. Now, we actually have put a feeler out ahead of time and got some feedback from people that are in this community and even on the outskirts. And some of those questions we went ahead and jotted down to present for him today. So one of the questions is from Janice. And her question is, why would you want to give up everything that you've accomplished this far to go and pursue the state's attorney's position? When you work so hard as an attorney, why give that up? What's your motivation behind that?
My motivation is the people. What I mean by that is the state's attorney is the chief law enforcement officer of the county, and it would be my job to keep you safe. And I truly believe that the way we've been working cases and we've been prosecuting is actually making us less safe. What I mean by that is we have a very high incarceration rate, especially for juveniles. We have the second highest juvenile incarceration rate in the state. Our murder rate has increased 95% over the past 5 years. And on the other hand, only 10% more people are calling the police. And so what you have here is essentially the Wild Wild West. You have a situation where we are becoming more and more of a dangerous society and people aren't calling the police. And so there needs to be a trust built back up between the community and police, and we need more intervention programs so we can break that cycle of criminality where we have right now. So that's why I decided to do this.
As you discuss that, let's go back a little bit on that subject. Now, people talk about the numbers and they talk about the increase in the murder rate. Where do we start?
The way we start, and I know this is going to sound naive, is we start at the home. And what I mean by that is I truly understand, and I'm not naive in the sense that I truly understand that we have parents now that are working 2 and 3 jobs. When we grew up, and Tightest, full disclosure, we used to play together growing up. There were often 2 parents who worked 1 or 2 jobs. Now we live in a society where we have 1 or 2 parents that are working 3 jobs to make ends meet. And we also have social media now. And so social media tells us that everyone who's on social media that we don't know, they're perfect. People don't understand that to put something on Instagram, it may take 30 takes. And so I think it is very important that we go into the communities, we go into the schools, and we talk about criminality. We talk about triggers. We talk about traumas. If you're being bullied, we need to tell people where to go.
Right.
You know, and if we go into the schools, there's a big thing now where kids are like, where they like to fight and jump each other.
Yes.
And so they need to understand that if you break into someone's home and you jump that person, that's not a fight.
Right.
That's called home invasion.
Right. Exactly.
Home invasion can get you 6 to 30 years of prison. And so I think it's important that we let people know where they stand if they're going to come into the courthouse. I believe that we need to have a proactive approach to crime, not a reactive approach to crime. What I mean by that is, let's go into communities and talk to people. Let's go into the schools. Let's go into the senior citizens' homes. Let's go into the churches and talk about crime trends in Peoria. If more and more people are leaving their cars unlocked, and that's something that's happening in a certain segment of the population, we need to go where that crime is occurring, explaining to people, hey, reminder, lock your cars.
Right, yes.
Because we don't want people to lose their independence because they think everything is good.
Right.
When people have to understand that there are more victims in Peoria County than there are criminals. And so we need to make sure that we protect people from becoming victims.
Yes.
So I think that's very important. That's something I want to change.
Well, and you hit on a key thing is that you have to be proactive, and that doesn't mean that you sit back and in hindsight judge events and base your entire presence on those. What he's saying is that he actually goes into these places to try to be that change. I don't know many state's attorneys, if any, that do that, and I certainly don't know any attorneys that do that in general. This is something that he's been doing, and he does it outside of the law office. There's not always a camera attached to what this man does, and this is one of the things where I know what I'm dealing with. I know that his heart's in the right place, and I know that he'll do what it takes to make the change that we're all seeking. And he struck on a good note. The words never change. It's always been unity. Without that, there's nothing. So trying to bridge that gap is something that he does on a daily basis. So him taking that to the next level, as far as the state's attorney goes, it can only affect positive change to me. And I mean, would you agree?
I agree totally. What I would like to also ask is, and I represent kind of the lay viewer, the viewer that may not really understand what we're discussing here. So, can you tell our viewers what the responsibilities of a state's attorneys are?
In a very simple fashion, the responsibility of a state's attorney is to keep you all safe.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So I would be the chief law enforcement officer of the state. I would also represent the county, and I would advise county officials.
Absolutely.
So I would help. What I mean by keep you safe is I want to have more preventive measures to keep you safe.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the state's attorney's office. Yes, they prosecute individuals that commit crimes. But what they can also do is something I've done for 15 years. I actually have done this with Judge Shadid. Go into the schools, talk about clinical intervention, prevention measures, okay? It's just not simple. Just as not as simple as prosecuting people and making sure the kid knows not to do it again.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that kids and parents know how to keep each other safe and how to help individuals that may be problem children. I've seen too many situations as someone who's a defense attorney. The parents have told me, well, we can't have Johnny back in the house because he's going to affect the other kids.
All right.
And what we want to do is give parents the resources, the treatment necessary to help them reintegrate that child back into the house. Because if you have a kid who's been at the JDC, some kids may look at the JDC as a place where they can go play basketball, hang out, but the kid's not realizing they're missing school on a daily basis. Yes, they're getting schooling in there, but they're missing the normal interaction at their school, and they're also missing the fact that when they come back to the school, everyone's going to want to know where you been for a month.
Yeah.
And so I think that simply locking people up is not the answer, because that makes us less safe. We want to be able to inform people look, this is how you get help, and these are the measures we want to help you attain so you can break the cycle of criminality. Because truly what it is a cycle of criminality. In the 80s, they used to say, well, there are the same 4 or 5 families that are causing trouble. Now, in 2020, it's you have not just certain families that are causing trouble, but you have neighborhoods that are causing trouble.
I was about to say you have blocks.
You have certain blocks that
That's
are
what they
dangerous.
They're organized.
And I'm not talking about a flood.
Organized.
Right.
Yep.
I'm not talking about a flood approach where we go into neighborhoods and flood them with police officers. I'm talking about a precise and strategic measure to go after individuals that are causing the violence. I remember a day when we all could hang outside and sit on the porch and just, talk, play basketball, trade baseball cards. In certain neighborhoods, you can't do that anymore.
Right, can't do that anymore.
You have parents and you have kids that when they get home, they are literally running from their car inside of their house if they see certain individuals outside with backpacks.
In front of their own house.
In front of their own house.
Right.
Yeah, and so we have to change it here.
Question. So, if those who don't know, I started at Peoria Public Schools as the athletic director in August, and I've been on the job for about 5 or 6 months now. And I get an opportunity to see teachers and principals on the front lines and trying to keep our schools safe, keep our discipline our kids the right way without punishing them to the extreme, but trying to get them help, all those necessary things. Are we any closer curriculum-wise to educating our youth about the law, more than just a government class or anything like that, to where they can understand what's right and what's wrong? A lot of these kids don't know, like you just said.
Right.
You go into a house and you break into somebody's house and jump somebody. That's a home invasion. It's
Right.
not jumping somebody on the street and everybody should just go home, and how that can negatively affect that kid. Are we any closer to that? And are there restrictions on that? And I'm uneducated about that, so I'm asking myself.
Well, that is one of the things we want to do. We would like to partner with Peoria Public Schools. Dr. Karat has done a very good job, especially recently, on those preventive measures, along with Carl Holloway. Carl Holloway, I see him in the courthouse all the time, working with youth who've been in trouble.
Yeah. Shout out Dr. Karat and
Yeah,
Carl
yes,
Holloway.
absolutely. Carl
Big
Holloway,
difference makers in the
Karat,
community. Yes.
very
Yes.
good people. They're likely to be in this seat next time.
And so we are definitely getting there, and I appreciate their efforts. But
And those are real efforts.
Yes.
These are not things that dissipate when there's no attention to them. Carl is one of the people that is up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes the first thing I see is Good Morning World or whatever. I'm not even on Facebook. I usually just scroll through, but this is the type of energy he puts out on a daily basis, and Karat is no different. And they have both been behind greatness of the city for a long time, and we're only just now starting to see the impact of that. So these are two real people. That's why I say they're likely to be in this hot seat.
Yes.
And it's not really hot though.
it's okay. It's okay. I've been in hot seats before.
Right, sure.
But definitely, they are doing a great job. And what I want to do is continue those efforts. But I think if I do those efforts and I'm able to explain to the kids, hey, not only is what Dr. Karat and Carl is saying is accurate, but you have to understand that if you don't do what they suggest, you got to come see me.
Right.
And this is that heat
Yeah,
that
exactly.
comes when
Yeah.
you have to come see, someone who is the prosecutor. And so there would not be any acceptance of violence because, I'll tell you this is one thing that I find that is one of the saddest thing about violence is you can go 3 weeks without food, you can go 3 days without water, but you can die instantaneously.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to take every measure I can to make people safe and help us maintain safety. But the way I'm going to go about that is to let them know what happens when they have to go there.
So your platform is not incarceration, it's rehabilitation.
Rehabilitation and prevention.
Yeah.
And
Perfect.
so, yes, so we want to prevent people from getting into the court system because let's face it, growing up, I've made mistakes,
We all have.
but I didn't get caught.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Just to
and
be
you
real.
learn from
I learned from
other
them,
people's
and,
mistakes.
and I learned not to do them again after I made the
Exactly.
mistake.
Sherry from Pekin asks, what programs will you have?
Well, what I'm going to have is a first offender prevention program. What that means is for individuals that have nonviolent crime, they come and they get in trouble. For example, they do something stupid like shoot stop signs with a BB gun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to try to, if it's the first time they've been in trouble, I'm going to give them a chance to get the treatment necessary, to do the community service, and necessary to pay the fine. And they complete all the services and the treatment, mental health therapy if necessary, then the case is going to go away without jamming up their criminal record with the conviction. I want to also have a recent trauma and abuse court. What I mean by that is I want to work with the judges, have individuals who've been victims of trauma, and they get in trouble for nonviolent crime. If that history of trauma can be proven, same thing. Get them therapy, get them the treatment, and prevent them from spiraling into more criminality. A good example of individuals you can see who may have had a history of trauma, recent movie The Joker.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they talked about how his history of trauma never got treated and it manifested into more criminality. And that's one of the things we're looking to stop. Additionally, another thing we're looking to do is for kids that are heading down the bad path, I want to have a voluntary jury system for them. What that is essentially is I want kids to understand how hard it is to participate in a jury trial. I'm going to have kids who work with the schools, if they'll allow me to, have kids participate as jurors, as prosecutors, as defense attorneys. And so when someone...
Make them a part of the process.
Make them a part of the process. So they'll see when they're 18 or 20 years old, if they get in trouble, this is not the smoke you want.
Right, yeah.
Because you have to come to a unanimous decision when you're on the jury, and oftentimes the judge ain't gonna let you leave until that decision is unanimous. And we all know sometimes that is not always advantageous for people who are sitting in that defense table. And so we want them to understand what the system is like and what the process is like and why you want to stay out of it. I do this game, and I've been doing it when I go to kids and visit them at different schools, and I say, hey, let's order a pizza, but the pizza has to be, we all have to agree what is on the pizza. Usually what we end up is with a pizza crust and sauce and nothing else. Because it has to be unanimous.
They can't agree.
Yeah, they can't agree.
They can't agree on
pizza. And so that's what happens with the
couldn't agree on the cheese.
Right.
You gotta have cheese.
And we're not even talking about stuff in 2020 like gluten-free and vegan stuff. Now you're gonna probably end up with some cauliflower.
Hey, just on that, whichever one of y'all kids said no cheese to mess that up from even getting started, shame on you.
Right.
That's not a pizza. Okay. Get raviolis. You'll be better with those.
Right, and so that's what people have to understand is what happens when you get into the system. It has to be a unanimous decision, and oftentimes certain people walk away on the short end of the stick.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Well, let's see here. We have a couple more good questions here. This is from Trent, and Trent is from East Peoria. Hello, Trent. What is the most exciting part about your campaign, which is what I'm excited about right now? So for you, what's the most thrilling part?
The most thrilling part is meeting the new people. Meeting the new people, and I created this curriculum for the State's Attorney's Office back in August of 2019, and I did it with a handful of followers in the room, and now we are beginning to catch fire, and I absolutely love that. I love meeting the people who follow us and who talk about the campaign. They're excited. And they say, hey, we've never had it, someone who, well, let's face it, an African-American state's attorney here in Peoria County, and they say, hey, we want you to win because of your ideas, and I love that. I love that. I look forward to representing people in Norwood and Chillicothe and Peoria.
See, this is what I'm talking about when I say a real person. So anybody can see that there is a lack of diversity in the state's attorneys that we've had. So instead of that being his campaign, I'm the first African American, I'm the first black. He doesn't even talk like that. It's not even part of his makeup, part of his vocabulary. It's what am I going to do different? And that right there, if you can't respect that, then, I mean, there's few things that you probably do respect. But that's one of those things where I say is integrity. And you cannot warp your integrity at all. Once you lose that, it's gone. And I've never heard this man use his race to his advantage. If anything, he blankets it to where it's not even noticed. Because it's overshadowed by ideas and by the desire to try to help, to want to help, and to make everything better. So those things are important for me when I look for a candidate. So he's not on a gimmick. This is some real. Those in the street, you know, when you see an abbreviation FR, that means for real, and that's what we got right here. So I just want to point that out, and my bad for interrupting you, but that's one of the things that really impress and I think inspire other people. If you can take anything that's a gimmick, like, you know, I should work here doing shuffs because I'm taller instead of, you know, your skill level. This is what I'm saying. I mean, he's got so many things that he can take advantage of that he's done accomplishment-wise, but it's still, what more can I do to help? And that just impresses me every second.
If the crime rate continues to increase, they're not going to care what color I am. They're going to care whether or not I kept them safe.
Yeah.
And so that is very important that people understand that I truly believe I have a platform that is going to break the cycle of violence in Peoria, and it has to be broken.
Some powerful words right there. Okay. We're going to Ren, and Ren is actually from Creve Coeur, so it's a little far out. Ren says, when will your campaign end?
Well, I am a Democrat, and the Democratic primary ends March 17, 2020, St. Patrick's Day. And so individuals, they have to come vote St. Patrick's Day. So after the parade or before the parade, make sure you go vote. And you have to pull a Democratic primary to vote for the next state's attorney. If we are successful in winning the primary, we will move on to the general election. And of course, the general election will align with the presidential election in November 2020.
Okay, this might follow along the next question too. Same household with Trent is Kevin. Kevin says, how do we vote for you specifically? And that's what you just touched on. Can you say that, just elaborate just a little bit? So no matter where we go to, what are we doing? What's the procedure?
Okay. You have to vote. We want you to vote. You can do early voting, February 6, 2020. You can go to the Peoria Election Commission and vote there, early voting. Also, what you can also do is you can vote March 17, 2020, which is Election Day. So, Election Day, you can go to your normal precinct, and what you can do is pull a Democratic ballot, and you can vote for the state's attorney. You cannot vote for the state's attorney if you pull a Republican ballot, because there are two Democrats that are running for the state's attorney's office, me and my opponent. So, you have to pull a Democratic ballot, and you have to vote Chris McCall for Peoria County State's Attorney. That's the way you vote for us.
Perfect. I have got one last question for you. Do you have anything?
No, keep rolling.
Okay. The last question, this is from Shelly, and Shelly says that she lived here for a long time, but she's recently moving back. She loves everything that she sees you doing for the kids. Her question is to you is, how is your family handling this campaign?
Besides the fact that Dad's not cooking as much on the weekends anymore, I think they're handling it pretty well. And so my kids are very well adjusted. I have a 12-year-old who's in 7th grade, and I have, of course, a 19-year-old. She'll be, well, she's actually 19. She just turned 19, and so she is doing very well with this. And my wife is doing very well with this, and they're excited, and they like to see people excited, and they like to see Dad's name on the yard signs and whatnot. So.
I know you saw my sign, right?
I saw your sign. I saw your sign. Yes.
Yeah, baby.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the family's 100% behind you.
100% behind me, and it seems to be Peoria County is very behind us as well. I look forward to March 17th.
March 17th. Okay, March 17th. We need you to get out there and handle your business.
And I'm gonna clear up some misconception. I have a lot of people who ask me this. Felons can vote. Okay, and so there's a narrative going around that individuals who have been in the system can't vote. It is very important that people who've been in the system and out of the system vote, because this election, the state's attorney, as a chief law enforcement officer of Peoria County, affects everyone. This race will affect you more than it will the presidential race. And I want people to understand that, because these are policies that are going to affect you day to day. And these are policies I truly believe can make us safer, using my 17 years as an attorney, working as a prosecutor, working as a defense attorney, working as a hearing officer for Peoria Public Schools. I truly believe that if the message is spread, people will vote, and I look forward to representing them.
I guess the last thing is there anything that you wanted to specifically address to anybody out there? Any last minute messages you want to shout out?
Thank you for everyone. Thank you for all the support. Let go, let God. Let's do this all together. Truly stronger together. Thank you.
It is. Thank you. We're going to go to a quick break, and we will be back. All right.
Absolutely. Now, I'm on social media a little bit, and I've been seeing a lot about, there's a lot of articles you just can't read and believe all the time. There's so many different people posting stuff. But I did see a lot about human trafficking, and I was wondering, is that true? Is that a big thing going on here in Peoria? And has it increased over the last 10 years, 5 or 10 years?
It is a huge thing in Peoria. And as I said, I'm going to go talk to the neighborhoods and community centers. This is the way human trafficking often works. It's someone is given a drug like heroin, and it's injected in them, and then that person is kidnapped, and they're being taken across the road, different parts of the country. They're being trafficked. They're being sold. They're also being prostituted, which obviously is selling another human as well. And so those things are happening here. These things are also happening day to day, and people don't notice it. There are signs of human trafficking, and I have to be careful because of this race, but if you go in certain facilities and you have individuals that provide services and 10 or 12 people are in the back of that facility, those are signs of sex trafficking. So it is, some of the personal services that go around in Peoria, shall I say that, personal services, things that have been on Craigslist, things that have been on the dark web.
So these things are all on your radar.
These things are on our radar, and they became on my radar as someone who was a board member for the Center for Prevention of Abuse. So we learned about it, we learned about the signs, and these are things that happen every single day. There are a lot of people who are in the sex trade business, and they've come up missing all over the country. And I think it is very important that we let people know the signs, that we let individuals know how important it is to stay safe and have a safe lifestyle so they won't get wrapped up in that.
I've always thought about that. Now being in education, in secondary education, I always thought about, like, when we were coming up, it was always, your parents kind of raised you, and the village was right behind them. Everybody was together. And I think times have changed a little bit, and I think we continue to think, oh, it should be like this. It should be like this. And I'm saying that because the earlier you can get to our children and get our parents' attention, the better. And things like that, in my opinion, should be taught. It should be discussed within a school day. We should be educating our young kids about. We didn't have to get educated as much when we were younger. We were told, don't walk to a stranger's car. We just didn't do it.
Don't talk to strangers.
Don't talk to strangers.
And if you weren't home by the time the lights came on, the parents were in the car yelling, Alex! And you knew, Alex, when you heard your name, you knew what was going to happen when you got home.
But nowadays, the parents are at work.
They not.
You know what I mean? Or they just getting home, or we're headed home.
Or texting, find out what's going on with the text.
I just would like to see the education about things outside of, let's just learn math. Let's just learn. Of course, we want to learn how to do math and read, but
let's bring economics back too, can we?
Now we have to put more of an emphasis on those
life
little
skills.
things that were natural to us, that we were out in the parks playing all the time, and we knew something wasn't right. When somebody walking up, and I know back in the day there was some dudes, some guys in the hoods and in the streets that you just knew, he come, we running, you know. And
everybody got a Debo.
Everybody had one. So
here's the difference. I'll explain this too.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we all had Debos growing up. And but here's the thing.
I'm just gonna tuck mine in.
Right. Debo's now have social media.
Yeah, for sure.
And so growing up, if we saw Debo, like you said, AJ, we could run from Debo, go the other side, or we knew his patterns and rhythms come on out. Now Debo can tell whether or not you read his text message.
Yes.
He can tell
the location.
He can get your location 24/7.
Yeah.
And if you don't give him your location, then you're going to have that problem when he does find you. And so that's very important that we teach our kids how to remain safe, how to stay safe, who to contact. And so we have to build that trust back up. And we can't keep doing the same things we did in the 80s because it's a different world in 2020. It really is. Because my life would have been a lot different if we had social media back when we were growing up in 1990, 1995. So
absolutely.
Exactly. And I just think that we need to include those things in our teachings, in our curriculum for our kids now more than ever. We just didn't have to do it back then, but it's not back then. We got to get in touch our kids, create those relationships with them to where they can trust us. And I think those conversations, people think they're tough, but kids actually like to have those conversations because it heightens their awareness.
Right. And another thing that's very important we do is individuals like us who grew up here have to continue to give back. There are certain groups of children, and I hate to say it, they feel that they don't have as much hope. And so they feel that they are stuck and they're stuck in the cycle. And so I want to use that office to make it the people's office. Use individuals that came here, became successful, left, stayed, and help bring them in contact with our children so they can see and realize that there is hope.
Yes.
They can break this cycle, and that they
there's other people that went through this.
Right. They don't have to look up to the individual who is selling illegal pharmaceuticals.
Exactly.
That is not the person that you want to look up to. You want to look up to people who, who became Big Ten Player of the Year, who got their education. Most importantly, got their education and came back to give back to Peoria County. And that's what I want to. Those are the people I want to elevate. We need to change who our mentors are.
That's one thing I noticed the most upon returning back to Peoria. We don't celebrate those. We know Sean Livingston, we know XYZ, but there are people who are doing real things that are on the front lines that are putting their time in. But we don't highlight that, and we got to do a better job. Historically, I'm talking over the last 30 years. There's so many people, such as yourself, coming in and affecting change the right way. But like you said, we let them go ahead and stray towards the drug dealer.
Well, and it's also having realistic goals.
Absolutely.
I mean, you would know the stat better than I do, but what is it? What, 1 out of every 50,000 people actually make it to the NBA?
Yeah, that's the worst. 1 in a million.
1 in a million. 1 in a million.
Yes.
And so I think it is easier for someone to become an accountant, obviously, than it is for them to become an NBA player. And so we have to play towards the odds.
Yes.
And I want to use that office to get people to play towards the odds and to get out the cycle criminality.
Yes. I love sports, but sports for me more introduces kids to social skills, leadership, competitiveness, because that's what you're going to need as you to drive discipline, to drive your campaign and drive the things that you want to put in place. But like you said, I just read a stat that said like 1% of all high school kids get a Division I scholarship. That's like 1%.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like these numbers are sometimes outrageous when it comes to like not everybody can do it.
Exactly.
And I think we're part to blame because we made it look easy back in the 80s and 90s because a lot of people were going on to use sports to get an education, but it wasn't easy. We were just talented.
Right.
So I think I try to use basketball, not only just to play, but let's learn how to be social. Let's learn how to lead. Let's learn how to do those things. And I think
learn how to lose.
Learn how to lose. And that's a big thing going on. We talk about it in the sports segment. But just all those things. I think you're highlighting that. And I think getting to those parents and creating those relationships is the place to start. Back then it was a village. And I'm in the system, kind of the school system now, and I kind of see the disconnect between our teachers and our principals and our parents. 2 or 3 people show up for parent-teacher conference in a school with 500 in it. That's a disconnect.
That is a
and it's nobody's fault. But I think we have to reimagine. Those are the words of Dr. Karat. We have to reimagine how we approach, growing up today. It's not like we were.
We have to inspire and achieve in spite of societal factors.
Yes, sir.
That's what we have to get better at.
Sir.
Shout out from our sponsors. That is Boost Mobile Peoria, Mohammed Zaid. He says, switch to Boost Mobile from a non-Sprint carrier and get the LG Stylo 5 for free. Just pay the first month bill, setup fee, and sales tax. Get unlimited talk, text, gigs for just $50 a month.
This is a nice phone.
Yes, it is. It's an Android 9.0 Pi Qualcomm Snapdragon with a 1.8 gigahertz octa-core processor, 32 gigs. You got great new features on it. You can even create your personal emoji. Rear camera, 5mm front wide angle with the portrait mode, and auto shot. Face recognition, unlock the screen with the facial scan. So get down with it.
And it's got the stylus too?
It's wonderful.
Okay, perfect. So get that phone today from Boost Mobile. Let them know that you saw it on the AJ and Tightest show, and they're going to drop that price for you.
Where you at? Ain't that what they used to say?
Alec. And also on the music scene, shout out to Dexter O'Neal. Now, if you don't know Dexter, man, it sucks to be you. He is one of the hardest working musicians in this area. He started off as nothing and nobody and has worked it to where he's traveling outside of the state. And if you want real entertainment, I mean real entertainment. I mean, you want to hear a sax player, you want to hear the guitar, you want to hear some songs sang in a way you ain't never heard, and just want to have a good time. It's guaranteed every single time. So Dexter's next performance, outside of a private show that I'll be at and he'll be at, but he won't show up because he'll be too tired. But I'll be there. The next one for the public is going to be at Oliver's, and that is located in the Heights.
Yeah, February 14th.
February 14th. Make sure you check it out. If you have not seen a Dexter show, you're missing out. I highly encourage you to go. If you go and do not like it, holler at your boy and I'll refund your ticket.
And unfortunately, today is one of those days, one of those sad days, one of those tragic days where something happens and it shakes up the world. And with the passing of Kobe Bryant at the age of 41 in a helicopter crash, it was one of the most sad days that I've experienced in a while since the passing of a close family member. And I had the opportunity to know Kobe. He's a class of '96, just like me. I had the opportunity to meet him, back in '95 when we were on the AAU circuit, and he was a class act then, always different. But more importantly, I had a chance to spend time with them in my short time with the LA Lakers back in 2002. I was able to spend 3 months with the Los Angeles Lakers, and Kobe was one of those guys that I immediately got close to and started to try to understand and dissect. If you know me, you know that it's all in here. It's all intellect. It's all dissection. I want to know if you're as genuine as they say you are, if you're the person they say you are, and Kobe definitely was. He was class personified all the way through. What I feel mostly about is, I heard about his 13-year-old daughter who was on a helicopter with him. I have a 13-year-old daughter. I always envisioned them clashing in basketball one day. I was watching, from afar, his development of his daughter. I'm developing my daughter here in Peoria, and we're the same age, same class. I'm actually 6 months older than Kobe. But I always envisioned our daughters clashing in college or in the WNBA, and I was waiting for that moment, getting my daughter prepared for that moment. And I know all the positive things Mr. Bryant was doing with the Mamba Academy out west. I know he got an Oscar recently. He was doing a lot of special things, and he was modeling what a post-NBA or professional career should look like. He was very articulate about things that he was passionate about. The detailed show on ESPN, and we're breaking down the NBA playoffs and giving you guys that player perspective. I know everybody thinks they're a player until you actually get to see what players go through and experience that to even get a percentage of what being a basketball player and being in the playoffs or being in a tough game, but what we have to deal with. And I was extremely proud of Kobe Bryant in his post-NBA career. And obviously, he's one of the top 5 greatest basketball players to ever live. I really don't give a go, even though Michael Jordan's my favorite player They're all GOATs, in my opinion, from Bird to Michael Jordan to Wilt Chamberlain to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to Kobe Bryant to LeBron. All these people are GOATs, and I wish people would just understand that and have love for them while they are here. I think Kobe did feel the love while he was here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I definitely want to send our condolences to the Bryant family, Vanessa Bryant. I don't know Vanessa, but I know they have 4 wonderful little girls, and I think a recently born, maybe a year-old little girl, and just that breaks my heart to know that their father and their older sister, the leaders of their household, so to speak, will never get to come home, and that's what hit me the most because I'm a family guy. I'm a relationship guy.
You spent
time with him personally, and quickly realized that why he was special. And I know he put that into his daughters and his relationship with his wife and his family. So, Laker Nation, my condolences goes out to Laker Nation, the family of Kobe, his father, Jelly Bean Bryant, and his mother and his sisters and all the rest of his family. And we lost a great one this weekend. So, I've gone on the last couple weeks letting everybody that I come close to know that I appreciate them. And why I appreciate them, and that's why. What I mean? And that's something I had to get better at. It's not natural for me to just walk and say I love you. So, but no, just as you get to the age of 30, anything can happen, pretty much. You know what I mean? And so you have to be able to
just like that,
just like that, gone in an instant. You know what I mean? So, big shout out to everyone out there who's supporting Bryant, and rest in peace, Kobe Bryant.
And I just say this, I knew Kobe as well, not in detail as him, but I was actually at one point signed to Heads High Entertainment, so I dealt directly with him. And we were just listening to a track that never got developed after the record label closed up, that he recorded that I intend to finish dropping. It's called Champions. And it just got me back to thinking of all the good stuff that he's done. So I've had the fortunate ability to partner up with his family, specifically Jared Washington, to really work on some Kobe projects. And one of the things that struck me as amazing about him is through the whole process, Kobe never seek credit for anything. He would have his ideas brought from other people and never seek that credit. And Kobe did make a difference. It wasn't wanting to, he did. So he had several different academies. I mean, you've seen the construction of some of them that I've showed you as well, too. So from a musician standpoint, I love the man. He was creative. He was a genius in that. From basketball standpoint, get out of here. I mean, come on. One of the greatest, absolutely. He'll go down in history as, if not the greatest, one of them. He'll be in the talks with Michael Jordan, with LeBron James, Kobe. It'll always be the Biggie and Pac. So sincerely to the Bryant family, to the Washington family, I talked earlier and reached out. Definitely a difficult time, and I just feel so bad for everybody that's affected negatively by what's happened here, because he helped so many people. So shout out to the man, the legend, and everything, and to your family. May God bless you. And I hope that you guys are able to find some comfort through this. And if I know Kobe, he's already up there working magic, and something's going to happen that's going to do some real significance here on this earth from his passing. So condolences to you. Like I say, one of the greatest, absolutely. This segment of the show is all dedicated to the sports fans out here. Now, you got no better person than to give it to you live right here. Now, let's talk about this game, sir. What do you know, and what are your thoughts?
Well, every week we want to talk about one of the special games happening with, as I told you earlier, and there was a big game this weekend with the number one team in the area is Peoria Notre Dame versus Peoria High. Notre Dame has completed a sweep of Manual already, and it was looking to complete the sweep of Peoria High, and it was good. It was a good game.
And what school did you go to?
I went to Peoria High School.
I went to Peoria High too. Might be a little bias over here.
Yeah, not really.
Clean sweep.
Really. No, if I had a picture in the gym, it'd be some bias. But I don't have no picture in the gym, so nobody knows I went to Peoria High School.
So listen, anyway, faculty, you need to get on that.
Yeah, disrespectful ain't the word. But that's another show.
No. Now y'all done. Watch what happens.
Show. But
About
anyway,
to rename that school.
game goes into overtime. I believe it was 55-53. Notre Dame wins the game. And what I took away from the game was, we have a little ways to go when it comes to our development and our kids on the court and off the court. And this part of the challenge is to motivate our kids to compete harder, to do more, to work harder, and to be a little bit more competitive and prideful in everything that they do. Now, the Peoria High's got a young basketball team, so you expect what I expected, what I saw, I expected. So, but Notre Dame gets all the credit. They came in there, they withstood many furious Peoria High rallies and runs, and they held serve. They got probably the best backcourt in the city with the Dillon brothers, and I don't know what Division II college they're going to, but they're going to school together to play basketball, which is awesome. But each of our schools will get a crack at them sometime in the playoffs, so in the state tournament. So, but it was a well played game, and I'm excited about the future of Peoria Public Schools athletics.
Anything stand out in the game? Anything special highlight?
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple of monster dunks, and there was a couple of athletic plays from players on both sides. I thought Peoria High came out very aggressive defensively. I thought they played a smart defensive game in the first 3 quarters, but got a little bit, young teams get a little bit, lose concentration easily. They lost a little bit of concentration, and Notre Dame's an experienced team. They took advantage of it. I didn't know that the coach had got thrown out in the JV game, so there was an interim coach, so they held serve. You got to respect it, and they held their serve as the #1 team in the city.
Now, everybody on that end just said thrown out. Wait, what happened? What happened?
I didn't know exactly what happened. I heard that he had some words with a referee in the JV game, and the referee threw him out. Yeah. And so when you get thrown out of the JV game, you can't come back and coach the varsity game. So, it's unfortunate.
He's kicking himself for that one.
But they held serve though. I'm big on cultures more than I am on players. I love when coaches come in and establish a great culture. To work in a great culture is awesome. It makes everything feel worth it. It doesn't feel like work when the culture of everything is really good. And that's what Peoria basketball is known for. Yeah. It's having, Dick Van Syog and Emmanuel Wayne Hamilton at Central, and then Chuck Bisher and then Ray McClain all had one thing in common. They had great cultures within their team. They had guys who are bought into what it took to become a great student athlete. Everyone maximized their potential, and that's what it was all about. And that's what we're looking to establish as keep establishing as we go forward.
Now you're already having quite an impact here. Sometimes we don't know what all the viewers see, what all they miss on the shows. But he is actually making a difference at an early age for the kids in this area to try to shape them into the players of the future. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the specific programs and stuff that you're doing to develop those type of skills down the line, and anything that they could be doing at home to mimic what you're doing to help their kids develop?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing a lot of different programs for our kids to develop. We're looking to, we've already completed a whole basketball season, which was predicated upon practice more than it was playing. Our kids need to work a lot more and practice with other kids and not individual trainers and things of that nature. So we went through that segment. Just this past week, we started with what I call the youth skills experience, and it's from for the next 2 weekends, and we may add another weekend, which will be the weekend of the 1st and the weekend of the 8th of February, and we're looking to add another weekend because we had to cancel the first weekend of the 18th of January. So and this is less specific on a sport and more specific on footwork, coordination, quickness, strength. Just learning how to do specific skilled activities like push-ups and jump rope and jumping jacks and all those things that we did as kids naturally that kids just probably don't do as much anymore. So we want to introduce that to them and get them prepared for the next sport to come, and the next sport to come is soccer. So I'm teaming with some guys in the soccer area. We're going to start preseason soccer training inside.
Oh, nice.
And then once preseason soccer training gets going, then we're going to start outside. But then in between then, there's going to be an introduction to cheerleading for all of our K through 4 students in Peoria Public Schools. So anything that I see that can benefit our kids and get them out the house and into an activity, that's what we're going to do. And love taking suggestions from the community. Love has had a slew of great volunteers helping out and getting themselves passionate about reestablishing the culture of our children.
So what do you say to the dads and moms that are at home right now watching, and they've got a young lady or a young man that is interested in the sports, and they want to get them involved in it? What can they be doing at home to help facilitate what sports can do for their kids?
Well, for the parents to get kids on track for success, first you have to help them identify what their passion is. A lot of kids don't know what their passion is. It could be art, it could be coloring, it could be drawing, it could be basketball, football, baseball, cheerleading, it could be gymnastics. Whatever it is, it's our job as parents to identify it. And then once we identify it, you have to get them around kids who are doing the same thing. It's less about individual training. I see a lot of parents going towards, individual training. Individual training was created for professionals. People don't understand that. Professionals hire individual trainers to make sure that they stay in shape, to stay solid, to stay sharp. They don't get better with an individual trainer. That's not the purpose of it. It's somehow flipped into parents thinking that an 8-year-old individual trainer is going to make them better. The difference is you have to learn how to play against someone if it's a competitive sport. You have to learn how to play against experience. To get that experience, I call it instinct. You only can get, once you master something, everything within that becomes instinct. And you can only develop that by doing it over and over and over again. So it's like, for example, if you got on stage and somebody told you to perform, you would kick in and you would know exactly what to do.
Got that, baby.
You know what I mean? Even if you haven't done it in 10 years,
wouldn't matter.
You wouldn't even matter. That's called instinct.
Come on.
But if somebody that getting into this game that may have gotten on stage and they said rap and they like,
man,
how y'all doing out there?
It's different.
Boo, like, you know what I'm saying? So same thing with sports. You want to get them with other kids first. Let them develop that as they get knocked down.
And they do that. They get with the other kids by starting off. They need to go to a website, right?
Go to a website.
Okay.
Get with the other kids. I mean, we like to do everything group wise. We're not doing individual training right now. So you can start getting more information from our website, www.peoriapublicschools.org/youth athletics. So we're going to have a lot of content and what's coming next. You're going to be able to see what we've been doing. It's already up. We just got it finalized this past Wednesday. So I've had to working this weekend, so I've been able to get to it.
So the parents can actually kind of see what's
they'll
going on.
Be able to go sign up for what we have coming up. The website is going to continue to grow. So we just happy to have a one-stop shop.
If these kids are really serious about athletics and going down that path, what should the parents be thinking about at home, like as far as like a diet or as far as like a workout or chores, or what time should they be going to bed? What's ideal to create a good environment that nurtures a person that wants to be a ball player or soccer player, anything?
What I would say is, like, let the kids be kids. Don't turn them into professional soccer players at age 7. Let them play every sport. Let them gravitate towards what they feel makes them great. It's not your choice. I have a daughter. I never made her play basketball. She gravitated towards it. I would say take the pressure off. You know what I mean? And stop putting the pressure on because it's not helping them. They're going to either push away or they're going to push to something else. So that's what I would say. Let it develop itself. Your job as a parent is more to find out what activities are happening in the area, i.e. Peoria Public School kids, sending them to our events, and there's some other things going on out there that they can be a part of, whatever it is, get them involved. Those relationships that they develop, those relationships that they grow will be very because what kids learn a lot from other kids. People don't understand that. I learned basketball by watching Michael Jordan come fly with me and playing with
I got the VHS literally downstairs.
The classic, and playing with my friends. So they would do a move that I like. I'm like, I'm going to get that. I'm going to steal that. And I'm going to master it because I can shoot. You can't. So it's gonna look better on me. So that's kind of my. You learn kids. You can put your kids. Once you put your kids in school, you see the change immediately. They start bringing some of the stuff not good, but they start bringing stuff home that they see from their friends. That their friends are doing. So keep them involved socially, and don't put the pressure on them to become anything until they decide that this is what I really want to do. Now they can start putting the work in to do it.
Well, what advice would you give the parents out there that see their kid, from the minute they come home, it's just on the cell phone, it's on the video games? What advice do you give for the parents that want their kids to be engaged in a healthy activity? What is it that they need to be doing, what they need to be thinking of, so that the kid doesn't feel, like they're being forced to do it to where they hate it more? The classic, you force your kids to go to church at an early age, maybe they'll resent that at a later age, so you kind of weigh the battle. So, hey, I think it happened to a lot of us. But what do you say to those parents that just don't know how to get their kids motivated, but they want their kids to be in a sport?
You got to be creative. You got to be smart. You just got to say, hey, you're playing basketball at the park today. I saw a bunch of kids out there. I think you should go out there. You want me to take you over there? No, Ma. Okay, I'm going to take you over there. This is how it's got to happen. If they love it, they'll jump at the opportunity to go play. If they don't,
so just get involved.
Develop a good relationship, parent relationship, not best friend relationship, parent relationship with your child. That's what I suggest.
Okay. And I think that was the questions that I had from the audience. So outside of that, what are we looking at here football wise? Who's going to win this Super Bowl? What's going on here? What's your thoughts on this? I know people are dying.
That's going to be a fun football game. Battle of attrition. I think I don't.
You got a winner picked yet?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Because I like both teams. I've enjoyed watching both teams throughout the year. It's the era of the quarterback, obviously. But defense plays a big part in all Super Bowls. So it's not Patrick Mahomes is an outstanding. He's one of those guys that has that gift to play with instinct, and that's why I love watching guys that play with instinct. He's one of those guys. So
okay,
we'll hold that off for another segment and get deeper into the Super Bowl. But,
got you.
It's going to be an exciting one, man. I'm looking forward to that one.
Now, speaking of Super Bowl, what we got going on there, sir? That's your spot.
Q for You, February 2nd, Super Bowl celebration down at the Q for You. I believe it's 301 MacArthur Highway, right across from Valeska Hidden School, right across from Shell gas station down by the Village Green. Also, if you into karaoke, make sure you come down there every other Friday. So we did it this past Friday, which is, what was that date this past Friday? I'm asking the wrong dude.
Wrong dude for the date.
But it's the following Friday. Let me look at my phone real quick. I can find that real quick for y'all.
And then with a name like Q for You, I mean, I've been down there and I've ate, but this is like a family thing for you down there. Now, tell us some of the kind of food that they're slinging down there, because I had some ribs, I had some of them all beef hot dogs, I done had some fish, I think, from down there. I love the rib tips. I love the half-pound rib tips. I also love. I'm a pork tenderloin guy. Okay.
They got a great pork tenderloin. They got great pulled pork. They got great ribs. Great slabs of ribs. They also sell hamburger. They also sell. They get the wings, lemon pepper wings, seasoning.
And then they got a special during the day, right?
Got a special during
the day.
Like
$5 for like
$5 snack pack where you can get a quarter pound of tips or a quarter pound of ribs and fries. Only $5. Make sure you get down there.
If you me, it's only $10 because you need a couple of them things.
But we also do, if you want to do a birthday party, great rates for a birthday party. We've had several down there, and it's a great setup because it's not too big, it's not too small. It fills up, and it feels real good inside. So make sure you sign up and find the phone number to set up a reservation for a birthday party. Also, we do, like I said, my karaoke weekends. I think the next one is Valentine's Day. So if you want to sing the sweet nothing to your Valentine, this would be a great time to come down. Q for You. We usually start the karaoke about 10 o'clock p.m. It's open at 11 o'clock a.m. all the way till about 1 a.m. We have a 1 o'clock license. So come down there every other Friday. February 14th will be our next one, so we'll have to see you there.
Okay, very, very cool. For those of y'all that just are having a hard time picturing where Q for You is, if you ever been to Mojo's, now y'all remember Mojo's, it was here for a couple years. They had some of the best food. That tradition's continuing over there, except the food's even better. So if you remember where Mojo's is, that's where Q for You is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, moving on to entertainment. A couple of movies have came out recently, but since this is our first episode, this is our first chance to talk about a couple of them. In the real world, we had the Star Wars movie that came out just a little bit ago, and then more recently we have Bad Boys 3. So, my take on the Star Wars movie, and did you make it to that one with me?
Never made it to that one.
Okay, then that means Kyle Bright was with me on that one, so we went to see it ahead of time before it came out. And I liked the movie. I thought it was a lot of good humor in it. I liked the way the plot twisted, so I'm going to go ahead and give that movie about a B-. Couple of things in there were off. The title, the last, having Jedi in the title, or not Jedi, but Skywalker in the title when there's no Skywalker in the movie. That thing was kind of frustrating. It was just a poor use of a title. So I get a little bit nitpicky when it comes to like my Star Wars and stuff. I know at the end, spoiler alert, she was like, I choose to be a Skywalker, but you still a Palpatine. I could choose to be, you know, a Tyler Perry son, but at the end of the day, I'm still going to be T-Double. So anyway, that's my take. So I give it a B-, but I thought it had really good humor, great swordplay, and all in all, I liked the movie. If you haven't seen it, I would suggest go see it. You're going to have a good time. Now, I would ask him, you know, what he thought of Star Wars, but he ain't seen Star Wars.
I'm not a big
He's
Star
not going to
Wars
go see
guy.
Star Wars.
Yep.
Now, he'd be the first person, though, to pick up some of my kids' lightsabers and want to whoop my ass around the building. But other than that, I know it's a no-go for the Star Wars. Now, on to what I know he knows about. You go ahead and drop this one.
Definitely, I'm a big Bad Boys trilogy now fan, and you know, I got a chance to see it last weekend. I thought I would give it a B. You know, it's not, in my opinion, it's not, you know, close to Bad Boys 1 or 2. That's just hard to, you know, to match. You know, just everything was came together in those two movies. When it came to the comedy, the action, the seriousness of the movie, the message. You know what I mean? I think Bad Boys 3 definitely has a message. It was very exciting, entertaining. I think, you know, Will and Martin, I think they have great chemistry together. You know, I'm not going to put too much detail into it, but it's a movie I'll definitely go see, definitely for entertainment.
Okay, so my take on Bad Boy 3 is this. Bad Boy 1 and 2 were better. This is more of Bad Boy. So if you like Bad Boy, you're not going to be disappointed when you see it. So the only problems I had with this movie, besides Martin Lawrence's head being too big to fit that body, I don't know how just your face get big. I don't know how you do that. So anyway, besides trying to figure out if that was some makeup from one of his fat movies, the only thing I had was they kind of set this movie up, and spoiler alert, and I'm going to crush it too, so turn this off or, you know, watch it and it's going to be spoiled. So the whole idea of this movie was to revamp the franchise by creating a whole new generation of this to come in. My thing is, their generation was doing just fine. At the age they were, they could have kept going. I mean, we remember Danny Glover being 100 years old talking about, I'm too old for this shit. So, I mean, we know. So they could have kept it going. But they wanted to make this to where there was a new legacy. So in this one, we find out, you know, at the end that Will Smith has a son. This son's, you know, wrecking shop. You know, by the time they reunite, sort of like the movie you hate, or not hate, but don't watch, Star Wars. He finds out, you know, Luke is his father, you know, so to speak. So at the end of the movie, they leave you knowing that there's going to be a Bad Boys 4, or perhaps, you know, a rebooting of the franchise starring the younger guy, probably with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence cameos. So I'm going to give this movie a B as well. I think it could have been a little bit better. They should probably came out of it, you know, quite a while ago. It was like Rush Hour 3, you know. I mean, there was a huge gap between them, but you're brought right back into it. So for that, you know, that's their saving grace. It was just like stepping back into it. You didn't miss a step.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give that movie a B right along with you.
Absolutely, B. They get a B for me.
All right, now on to what you're being told to watch. Now, anybody that hears this next title, you've been told to watch this. Arron Hernandez. So, you know, a sports figure right along with your league. And if you want to take it from there.
Yeah, I got a chance to watch Arron Hernandez, a Netflix special documentary, and I was just blown away by what was inside of the documentary. It was very telling. It was very intense. It was very personal. I didn't like the fact that people are coming out and talking about the sexuality part now, and he's not here to
but nothing before.
But nothing before at all.
So leave that at the door.
I mean, it's all speculation, and but it made for a compelling story. I just didn't think that part of it was really fair to him. Not that you have to be fair to him, but if you're gonna accuse somebody of something, then they should be able to defend themselves.
Well, especially and that's the same problem I had with this, a documentary setting. So your whole goal is to keep it as real as possible. So don't, the hearsay, that's fine to drop those in there, but they clearly, they wanted you to think this way.
Yes.
And I just didn't appreciate it. You didn't appreciate it.
Yeah.
But as far as telling the story of it, I mean, that's some deep, crazy mess right there. I mean, to have it all and to just throw it away like that, man, it's inconceivable to me. How many people have you met in your lifetime that would sell their soul just to have one of the opportunities he had?
I mean, I just hear it every day. If I did what you did, I would be where you were. I'm just like, yeah, man, it's not easy. Everybody thinks it's easy, and to try to diminish the whole process of becoming a professional, but it goes into the mind of the influence that he was under. It's obviously being influenced by someone, or trying to, or the trauma that he's experienced growing up, all contributed to where he was, and in combination with the physical nature of football. The brain. I'm interested to see what his CTE scan comes out to be for brain damage, and
CAT
see
scans
the CAT scans. What's the disease called that they have now for professional football
the
players?
Concussion thing?
Yeah, it's a disease.
I can't think of it. Yeah,
it's C something.
But it's real.
But it's real, and you saw it in Arron Hernandez, and that's and I think. You're seeing it a little bit with Antonio Brown. I mean, if you're following Antonio Brown and his kind of demise, and we're sitting and watching him like self-destruct. You know what I mean? And it's sad because the only person that can help themselves is the person that needs to help themselves. And we can all want it for you, but if you don't really say, you know what, I'm ready to change my life. I'm tired of getting in trouble. I'm tired of arguing with everybody. The person has to come from within, and it looks so easy. It's like, get him help, get him help, get him help. But they won't tell you what's going on, so you don't know what kind of help they need, and they won't walk themselves in and get them help due to their pride or they're in their mind, I don't need help. So Arron Hernandez definitely falls into that category, and it was definitely a big, huge fall from grace.
Which is our next one. But before we do that, on the record, what's your letter grade?
I give the documentary another B. I would say B plus. I give it a B plus. Just that part about just the speculation part. I prefer to leave out
speculation out of it.
You could just say it, but you don't have to have anybody on camera interviewing, talking about it. And this man is not here to defend himself.
And I got to be real with that. For me, that's a whole letter grade just for that, because it takes away the authenticity and the realness of what you think that you're watching, and it lets you know right then that this has been shapened. So if I'm watching a documentary, I just want to watch the pieces as they unfold. So for me, I'm only going to give this a C. Now back to the fall from grace. Now I'm just going to say this. Spoiler alert. I'm going to go ahead and give this movie an A for one and one only reason. When that man took that bat to the head, I felt that. Now, how are you going to talk so much mess with your back to the woman sitting in the chair? And you got your head cracked open like that. For that, I'm sorry. That was I was not expecting that. I mean, I'm coming from movies like, it might be a little Ike and Turner. There's gonna be a little friction here, a couple little punches or whatever. That bat scene was brutal. Tyler Perry. I don't know how left field you went on that one, but man, my eyes woke up and I was ready for bed. I was getting tired. All of a sudden, that bat went to cracking, and I woke right up. Now that was some vicious stuff. If you're not a fan of Tyler Perry, whatever. check this out for the visuals because you ain't seen nothing like this. Now, this was some crazy cinematography there. The rest of the movie, I give it a C, you know, right along the lines of most Tyler Perry movies. But because I saw something I ain't never seen and something so brutal and like, and I mean, he had it coming too. Like, every crack of that bat, I was like, swing that bat. I was like, swing that bat.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was in there. So for that, I'm going to give that movie an A. And you get the curve grade. Otherwise, it would have been a C.
Right.
Your takes.
I mean, I thought it was a good, solid movie for Netflix. I mean, I haven't seen many great movies on Netflix. I don't think I'd give any Netflix movie an A. But you know, it was definitely entertaining. I'm a guy who loves twists in movies, and definitely a little bit of a twist in that movie.
Oh yeah. What'd you think of the ending?
I mean, I thought the ending was just so predictable. Honestly, like,
that's like you.
After the twist, it just became predictable what was about to happen, and typical TP. And I'm a big Tyler Perry fan. Or anybody who has that kind of work ethic, regardless of how great his content is, I mean, or good or bad his content is, he's one of those guys that I have utmost respect for because of his work ethic. He's putting out content for us to even talk about. You know, I just thought that it became a little bit predictable after that. I mean, there's a lot of movie mess ups that was floating around the internet, and you know, stuff that they did and people were laughing about. So he said he filmed it in 5 days. Some parts of it looked like it was filmed in 5 days. So I'm gonna give it a C plus. I would have
been with you till that bat scene. And
the bat scene. I felt that it was real aggressive, but you know, I thought that you know, it was entertaining, but it was just, you know, it was the twist in it that entertained me.
And how you bounce back from that bat attack, that's the thing I don't know. So
right.
Anyway, with that being said, that's going to close up the very first episode of the AJ
and Tightest show.
That's right. So we're going to come to you pretty much every single week, unless we get this thing wrong, and we'll have to tweak it and work that out. But you will be seeing every episode Saturdays between 3 and 4 on our YouTube channel at the AJ and Tightest show.
Let's go.
So make sure you tune in. We're going to try to get our base really big, bring special guests in. At some point, we're going to be doing some mad giveaways in the area. And definitely shine a spotlight on this city and the talent within it. Present company right here, it gets no more talented. So with that being said, good night and adieu.
Yep. Good night. Good to see you guys. See you next week. Peace.
Next week. Holler.